So, as more governments around the Caribbean are engaging their diaspora to come home, here at the Exodus Collective, we're really keen to profile people who've made similar journeys. And today I'm joined by Bevon Findley, who's moved to Grenada. Bevon, how long have you been in Grenada?
I've been here since September 2023.
And so tell me a little bit more about what you were doing professionally before you moved to Grenada.
So my background, I'm ex-military. I served 8 years in the U.S. Navy. And since I left in 2004, I've been in tech for the last 20 plus years or so, um, working for digital agencies, specifically legal, entertainment, and medical. So I did a lot of work for hospitals like Columbia University, NYU, Beth Israel, a lot of other doctors and nurses. And for me, the last 10 years or so, I have been doing a lot around cannabis education. I found CBD from hemp in 2016 to help me relieve a lot of the pain I have from the military. And so I've been doing that ever since. So tech and cannabis is my bread and butter.
So you're in the cannabis space and you chose to move to Grenada, which from memory is probably the only island in the English-speaking Caribbean where cannabis is not decriminalized or legalized. Why?
I was born here and I moved, I grew up in the States. And so I always had a calling to come back home. It's just something I felt. But in 2018, when the last administration announced the medical, I came down in 2019 to visit and see the industry. And then during COVID, some members of the last administration invited me to come down here and be a part of cannabis and help the country. So I took a leap of faith. I came down in March 2023, connect with some of my colleagues here, and then I made the full move in September. So it's part of me moving back home because I felt it was time for me to come back home. And two, I was invited to come back and be a part of helping Grenada legalize.
Okay. And in hindsight, do you think that was a good move? Do you think you should have gone to another island?
No, this is the perfect move for me. I'm home. I feel so blessed to be here. Like I tell my family and friends, no matter where I look, I either see the ocean or I see the mountains, I see flowers everywhere. And I'm low key, I'm low maintenance. And so for me here, it's perfect. I eat healthy. It's made a lot of sense and I have no regrets. I really enjoy being back here.
Okay. And so when you moved in 2023, did you think in 2026 you would still be waiting for decriminalization?
I thought it would be sooner, but again, people keep telling me, Bevon, you're back home. Things are slow here. Things take time, and so I'm not really surprised knowing that. But it's just that drag is taking forever, right? But now that I kind of talk to some of the individuals I've been doing for the last couple of years, I see what's going on behind the scenes, and so I have an understanding like why it's taking so long. So for me, it's okay.
Okay, good. That's good to know. And so tell us a bit more about the business that you're building here and who it's for.
So there's two sides of what I do. I have a tech company called Trust Tech Digital. We do digital marketing, websites, build apps, social media, content, email marketing for individuals. And then on the cannabis side, I focus a lot more on education and building community. And so before I came down here, I had a hemp school and I have some tech and communities online. And so for me now, it's how do I transition what I'm doing for the States and some other parts of the world to do that here locally for everyday Grenadians. And so that's what I've been building for the last 2 years, just taking my time, revamp all my tech. And I'm really excited for launching these projects over the next 2, 3 months.
And so tell me a bit more about the level that you were operating at when you were in the States. Like what sort of team did you have? What sort of clients?
I have a few medical professionals, some financial. As far as cannabis, I had businesses. I helped start a business from the ground up, doing marketing, helping them with the branding, the compliance, making sure that they're legal, making sure they're not making any unnecessary words that will bring them FDA letters or get them shut down. I have my small team for my tech team, and I use my tech team for helping the cannabis side of things. And when I was in Virginia during COVID, I had a team there for this hemp school called Choices RVA. And so we were teaching how to grow, the medicinal side of it, the medical side. Again, the different ailments, terpenes, cannabinoids. So it was kind of fun, and I had a couple of good teams. And so when I came back home, I kind of just restarted the whole process.
And so a lot of people, I know even in my own family, when Jamaica was the first to legalize and St. Vincent and others followed suit. And I know there were a lot of conversations like, listen, we've got land, why don't we start growing cannabis? Um, but what are some of the issues? And I know many people watching in the diaspora have land and are thinking, cool, it's a no-brainer, let's just grow. But what are some of the considerations that people might need to take into consideration when thinking about, okay, we're gonna grow weed?
Uh, that's a really good question. So I've seen this in the States too. Same thing happened in the States. The overall issue we have to understand when it comes to cannabis, it's federally illegal plant according to the United States, right? That alone trumps a lot of things that we have to think about. So because it's a controlled substance, there's a lot of regulations around the plant. So you can have land, you can grow, but can you grow commercially, right? It's the process it takes to grow the plant needs to be done correctly. The plant has to be tested properly. So you can, if you're growing and your soil is bad, there's pesticides, there's bugs and things like that. The quality of your plant is going to change. So those things is a big thing. I've seen a lot of farmers lose their crops when it comes to growing, and they lose their money. And so there's no insurance for these things here. And then for me, I have to go back to compliance again, right? Because this is a medicine according to the government. And if you're going to give somebody a medicine that's kind of getting controlled, you have to make sure that what you give them is quality. And so that costs money. And so that's going to, again, you have the land, but if you don't have the funds for the licensing, the funds for the equipment, for the staff, for creating the product, these things are going to keep a lot of us from joining the industry. So I always tell people that if you really want to join, think of ways that you can join and what happen to be a growth. For example, with me, I'm in marketing and tech. So I have education platforms that I build websites for clients, do consulting, do wellness programs. So this is how I'm able to be in the industry without actually having to grow. And then the way I got around to growing was my school. I opened up a school, getting education, and that allowed me to get a license to grow. And so I was teaching. So I wasn't really focused on having to grow plants for products. So for me, the thing is figure out what is it you really want to do, what your strong point, right? If you're a lawyer, then offering legal services would be very good for individuals when it comes to the plant. So that's my biggest advice for individuals.
So that's an area that I wrote about quite a bit when I was a journalist. I remember this was like 5, 6 years ago. But back then, there was often an issue that exporting a cannabis was an issue. So you might be able to grow it, you could process it, but beyond being able to serve your domestic market, especially for people like Jamaica, even though there were lots of companies from overseas flying in to export it, was something that was a challenge. Is that something that still happens now in Caribbean nations? And is banking still an issue in terms of being able to process funds from cannabis derived products?
Export is still an issue. We see a lot of the black market still there. For let's specifically here, Grenada, as of right now, even if I look the next 2, 3, let's say 5 years, when it comes to setting up the industry here and infrastructure, I do not see us at some high level being able to export. Again, for one, the island is small, right? It's being able to figure out the land, making sure the soil is able to grow, right? There's a lot of testing that has to be done. A couple of runs need to happen. And then two, we have to feed our community first when it comes to this, the plant before we think about exporting. Because what's good if we export in cannabis and then the individuals here who cannot grow is importing in black market, right? Same thing with agriculture and food. We can grow enough in Grenada to feed our country, but we do a lot of imports, right? So we do a lot of exports when it comes to some of our crops here. So again, we have to create the market here first for our people before we do that. Some countries have been doing that, but for me, what I've seen is not really on a high level. Again, the question is going to be is, are you going to grow for people here first. Let's go to the rum industry. That's my biggest thing, right? There's companies here who, this is what I found that coming back home, is they grow the sugar cane and they export the rum. And me as a local, I cannot get some of this rum that they're exporting, which is wrong for me, right? So we do not want that here in Grenada. That's one of the biggest things we've been discussing behind the scenes is we do not want the cannabis industry for us to be able to grow, and then all the really good crop is exported out. And then when it comes to banking, from what I see, St. Lucia, Antigua, St. Kitts are working on banking. We've had a lot of discussion with the Eastern Caribbean Central Bank over the last year, the conversation around banking. From what we see that it looks like they will open up banking for us. One good thing about that is because they're a central bank and they print money, they have a really high authority when it comes to banking. It's just up to them and having the discussions with the banks here to be comfortable and say, hey, our banks will not get shut down if we are able to bank. For the states, some of the workaround is with the local small banks.
Well, like credit unions or something like that,
Credit
no.
union, yes, credit unions, yes, credit unions, right? Small ones, that's the small people sent, or the owners are the people. Those are the ones that's actually um, allowing and doing small banking. So from what I've seen here, it may happen here in Grenada, but again, we are waiting on the ECCB to finalize the documents with that. And once Grenada decriminalized, I think that would open up a lot because everybody's waiting on Grenada. And so from the conversation I've seen, I think it's going to happen. It may be a couple of years, but because the central bank again is involved, and I know that the central bank is a company, the bank that prints the money, I think I have a high chance of that will happen.
It's interesting that you made the Freudian slip between legalization and decriminalization. And legalization, what the current government campaigned on. And it's interesting that what actually is being discussed is decriminalization, but that's a whole another episode in and of itself. And we're going to move on from the cannabis point very soon. But last question is, do you think that there is sufficient demand within Grenada for value-added cannabis products?
For the last 2 years, I've been doing a lot of behind the scenes building community, because that's what I love doing. A lot of the elders here, even some of them who pro cannabis don't smoke. A lot of them make teas. They're in pain, just like with me with my chronic pain. We want CBD, we want CBN for sleep, all different terpenes. So there are products here that for individuals who don't smoke want it. For mental health, again, is a big thing, especially with our youth. So there's a lot of room here for those products. Those more so on the hemp side of things. Um, and just a matter of creating the infrastructure for us to be able to deliver that. I see that, yes. I see there's a need here. It's going to again come back down to education and ensuring that people know that, hey, hemp side is the product that's pretty good for medicinal ailments. And so Grenada is, once they decriminalize, they're opening up the hemp market. And so it's going to be a couple of years, but I see, yes, I see the value in adding those types of products.
Brilliant. And so what's been harder than you expected about setting up here?
Um, Things slow. It's a slow pace here, right? According to the Prime Minister, it's one of the reasons why they're taking so long to do things is the back and forth, right? Trying to figure out how many plants to grow, how many grams allowed, and two, Grenada doesn't have the necessary individuals who can help, right? I'm glad I'm here. Right? I've been able to do a lot of that, my skills, but Grenada still, again, are not used to growing on a scale. And so we need individuals who are actually Grenadians who can provide those types of services so that way we can prevent or ask government not to use outside partners like individuals and corporations in Canada, for example, to come in and take over the market. So it's a slow pace of things here. And so we're getting there. Things are starting to move. And so I'm really excited for that.
And are you seeing that that's something that the government is actively deciding to engage people in Grenada who might have illicit growing experience on other islands, or people in the diaspora who may already have cannabis experience, because there are many. I mean, you and I connected 5 years ago knowing that this was going to happen, and there's other people that we know too. But are you seeing the government being intentional about making sure that this is as locally owned as possible, or do you feel like it's more likely to go the way things sadly
Ooh,
do? Be direct.
to be honest with you, I will say that government failed on this aspect. I've offered my services. I've submitted all the draft bills that I've written for years, and I wasn't invited. Individuals have suggested to the government to invite me to the table. I was told no. We submitted paperwork for the consultancy when it comes to writing framework. I gave them the blueprint. Me and my team. I have Grenadians who've grown, who made products to say, hey, we have a team here. We told no. From my understanding, they already chose somebody. Even the Prime Minister announced yesterday on his DM with PMs that they already have a consultancy to write a framework. From my understanding of people I've talked to, is somebody from Canada. From what I've seen from the company, they're not cannabis people. They're just financial individuals who just want to make a buck. So for me, I give the government a fail on that, and I directly tell that. So they were watching. This is what it is, right? I give you a perfect example. Dr. Marcel, pharmacologist, they said he's on a committee. The prime minister announced on camera he's on the committee. It's been a whole year now. They have not once invited him to any conversation, any meetings. He's nowhere to be found. And I find that very disrespectful. The ECCB has been engaging with him for a year now. He's been teaching them. The government of Grenada doesn't want to work with him, even though they understand he is the plant expert here in Grenada. So for me, it's a shame, right? You have all the Grenadians here, especially those in diaspora who's willing to come here and help educate, and we're being told no. And I don't know why, but that's what it is. I can tell you for a fact that they don't want us, right? And so it's up to us again. We are the voters, right? We are the people who have the power, and it's up to us to really push and see what happens. But I'm interested to see what happens once the decrim and things happen here. I really hope they change their mind around choosing individuals from Canada because it was really bad for them. And the based on how Grenada has been independent over the last 30 years and things that I know, there's people here. How do I put this? There's individuals say they will burn the fields if Grenada doesn't include locals here. They give the market to foreigners. They say they will burn the fields. This is word on the street from people. A lot of people I've talked to. They will burn. They will burn fields.
Yeah. And you know what? It's not unique to this present administration either, because back in 2019, I contacted a minister who was representing Grenada at the UN General Assembly at a time where cannabis really was being prioritized, and governments and companies from around the world were coming to have conversations and set up meetings, and he didn't turn up. So perhaps it's not a political color thing. Maybe it's a will thing. I don't know. But either way, it's far from good.
No matter what happens, I give this current administration a bravo for coming this far, or at least decriminalizing the bill. And whatever happens after that, it's up to us as people to really submit our information because they asked us to do that. But I could say the last administration, based on like what I've heard yesterday, did not want to decriminalize that bill at all.
Yeah, yeah. Are there any other assumptions that you had that turned out not to be true regarding business and ease of getting things done here?
Uh, no, everything I've heard is true. Everything's slow here. They just and it's who you know. It's who you know here, right? It's like people say the good old boys club. I don't know how true that is, right? From my experience, like I said, there's people here who's really invested in Grenada and who can help, and they'll tell no, so maybe that's true. But things are very slow, and it's if you know somebody who can help you, and you have somebody in the government or whatnot, they're quicker to bring you in. That's from what I've seen there. But for me, again, I'm focused on helping the people, and that's where my priority is.
Has there ever been a point where you've rethought your decision to come here? You're like, you know what, might just go somewhere else.
Never. Never, never, never. I'm a Grenadian. I was born here. I'm so glad to be back here. My spirit is is so much at ease. I'm so much more relaxed, less stressed out. For me, cost of living, at least for me, it's better here than in the States. I eat natural foods, so I can just go to the locals and get the food I eat, the provision and things like that, fish. And for me, compared to the States, it's so much better. And my mental health is wonderful being here.
How have people reacted to you being here? Is it like welcome back home? We're so glad you're here. Is it a bit of suspicion, like who is this guy? Why has he come back? How have you found people relate to you?
People have been open arms with me. Like one thing good thing I did was I built relationships before I came. Like for example, with you, my friend Saisha, some of my other friends. You and I know a lot of them I've engaged with too. They said I'm from here, so I have family here, cousins and things. So coming here was easier for me because again I have relationships here, right? But because of how I am, I'm very open. I'm very helpful to people. People ask me for help, I help people, right? Especially when it comes to answering questions. I don't gatekeep because for me, knowledge is free. It's just how you use our knowledge to help yourself and to make money and build a business. So people love me because again, I'm open. I talk to people. Like I don't act like I'm too good because at the end of the day, I'm not. And so I've had a wonderful experience being here.
Yeah, I think that's one of the things I can definitely say about you is that you are someone who helps. You're like your first response is to give rather than to take. And I
Yes.
think that's a rare and unique thing. And so I wonder like what your experience has been of how people choose who they trust here. I have a bit this expression in Grenada that things move at the speed of trust. It's not like how logically quickly it could take to get done. It's like, no, people need to like feel your vibe. What's your experience of that been?
Yeah, that is true. Um, for me, like I said, it was easier for me because I give, right? I talk to people, and my friends and them have, since I've been back home, I've been around about 80 to 90% of the island. So my people who I've connected with have taken me. I've met people. I've had conversations, and so that right there stood out a lot to people. When they call me, I answer the phone. I text back, and that has gone a long way of building relationships with people. So that's why I said, don't if you come in Grenada, you have to build community. And it's something I've always done, right, for the last 10 plus years, and so I find that helps a lot. People trust too. People go online, they can see me, they can see my content, they can see what I've built. And so I already have that trust factor. I think that helps a lot.
And then, so even when it comes to homegrown, I think is it 4 or 5 plants that the
Full
government is
plan.
allowed? Four
Full
plants,
plan.
yeah. Without incriminating myself, the process of growing plants can be a lot more, there are a lot more variables to it than people might consider if yield is something that you're considering. Um, and so is that an area where you imagine there might be people wanting your educational advice in the interim between medical licenses being granted, if people want to grow and make sure that they're actually, once decriminalized, they're actually getting the results that they want, whether it's the right sort of terpenes, the cannabinoids, etc. Is that something where you see you having an advantage in being able to guide people through that?
Yes, and I'm already doing it. People ask me questions, right? For me, is you ask me a question, I help you. I give you knowledge. I'm not concerned about what is it you're doing because, again, that's none of my business. I'm here to help you, give you advice. I've been doing it for years. I have my platforms that I'm relaunching to be able to do that in a more effective manner. But yes, I'm here to help, answer any questions, give you advice, teach you how to grow, how to pop the seeds properly, all those things I can do. And then it's up to you now to do that because again, knowledge, I cannot be arrested for teaching the knowledge, right? And so knowledge is free, knowledge is power.
Yeah, and you mentioned the platform that you're building. I'd love you to tell us a bit more about that, but also how do you feel Grenada benefits from businesses in general being more visible beyond a Facebook page or word of mouth?
So from a visibility standpoint, yes. Really has been a big push for the creative community for digital transformation. And so if you don't have a proper website, Facebook, Google Business is going to be important here because everything is um, word of mouth and searches via Google Maps. And so that's going to be important. The social media presence is going to be key. And then actually being out and about talking to individuals is going to be important here. Visibility, right? People are going to need to see you. You can't hide here in Grenada. Grenada is too small for that. And then as far as my platform, I have a couple platforms. The first one is called Phytopedia. It's Phyto, like encyclopedia. It's called the Plant Knowledge Hub. And the goal there is content. I have my 10 years of knowledge in the platform. And you have free education on there for individuals and businesses. And I have been gathering specific categories for like beginners on there. And so, for example, you as a business, you do like wellness, you have a website, you can license my platform for free, set my plugin, and I'll educate the consumers for you. If you want more advanced categories, it's going to be a charge. If you want to plug into my API, that's another charge. Enterprise, I can connect my content to your product. So, for example, let's say, let's go for example, Mersin. Mersin is smells like mango leaves. It's high in mangoes. It's the most common terpene again in the plant. So high amount of myrcene will make you very sleepy. And so if you have a product that, for example, have myrcene for sleep, and somebody goes to the article for myrcene, that article can link directly to your product. Aside of that, Phytopedia, we have our job board on there. The job board is for those of you interested in the jobs that will be available for once industry is set up properly. We have different jobs as bud tender, extraction, growers, packaging, all those things are on there for you to understand the jobs. And then we have courses on there for you. So the courses tie into the jobs. So again, bud tender, cultivation, compliance, all those things on there for you to be able to take. Some of those classes are free, some of them are paid. And then I have my community mobile app that I'm revamping. It's called Mimea. The community, Mimea is Swahili for herb, aka cannabis. And so that's we're community. So we have groups, discussion, all the courses, the job applications on there. And then so like all the events that's happening here in Greenland when it comes to cannabis, is on the mayor. That's what I've been doing for the last 2 years since I've been here. And the goal is to corner that market. If you need to be on a cannabis event and you have a cannabis event, that needs to be up on the mayor, right? It's private, and so it's a safe space. And so those are the two that I have when it comes to cannabis.
Right. And I love the strategy, and I'm curious, how much of your business, say in the next 3 to 5 years, do you see being dependent on Grenada? And to what extent is it regional or global?
For me, what's different than most individuals coming back here is I have a global audience. I have a Reddit community called CBD Info with 25,000 people on there. I get a really good amount of traffic. A lot of it has been automated because I've been more focused on Grenada. So that's getting revamped the next month. It's being done right now. People who have been networking for years, like I said, I've been doing this for 10 years with cannabis. And so I have a varied audience all over the world. So I'm not 100% dependent on Grenada when it comes to my business, including my tech.
And so one of the things I'm curious about is what advice would you give to someone else who's thinking of coming back to Grenada or starting in Grenada for the first time with someone who doesn't have any family connections here? What's the key piece of advice that you would give to them?
Build friendships, right? You got to get with Zoe. Talk to Zoe. Zoe can help you, right? She is number one here when it comes to coming back from diaspora. Build friendships. You have to come down here. If you want to move, I say come down for at least a couple weeks, right? Come down, spend 2 weeks down here, get with Zoe again, right? Come meet me, meet all our friends here, and see the vibe. Travel the island, get the food, see the culture. Like this is what you have to do before you make that move, right? I did that even though I'm Grenadian. So I recommend you come down here for at least 2 weeks and meet people, talk, see the energy, see how slow things here, the pace is. Come buy some food, see things, right? That will help you a lot. Um, and then if you really want to move here, you're not be able to get jobs here, right? Because the job scene is go to locals. That's big, right? And so you have to provide jobs. If you have a business that you can open up here that can provide jobs for locals, cost of jobs here is going to be, for me as a business standpoint, it's easier. I'll give you a perfect example. The average pay here is about 12, 13, 1400 EC, which is about, what, let's say, 400, 500 US dollars, right, for the month. So if you know you have a business and you can afford to pay somebody five, $600 that would go a long way to helping people here in Grenada. And so open up in a business would be helpful. That's my biggest advice. Other than that, please do not come down here thinking you can get a job. You have to be a value to community. The government will support you, right, when it comes to business. So I would say being able to open a business here will be very helpful.
Mm. And last question, if there was anything, if you had to do this again and you didn't want to leave it to chance, what's the one thing you would do differently?
I will come back sooner.
Ah,
No,
nice.
no, yeah, know
Why?
what yeah, because I know what I know now. I would have came back sooner, but I don't have no regrets, right? In life, I have no regrets in anything I do. Everything happened. Everything happened the way it needed to, and so I'm grateful to be able to, like I said, if I came earlier, I wouldn't have my business the way set up the way it is, right? The knowledge and the opportunities I had in the States that gave me the experience to come down here, I wouldn't have had that. But if I had the knowledge and had the opportunity again, I would have done that. I would sped it up, right? But no, I have no regrets. I have no regrets. I really love being back home here in Grenada. You don't know how it feels to be able to wake up and not have somebody over my head tell me where I have to be, and being able to eat healthy. And yeah, I can still go back to the States, so I'm really grateful.
Nice. And so people are watching this thinking, right, that those 20 acres, I want to do something, or my skill as an accountant or XYZ, I want to be back in Grenada. I want to tap into this green rush. Do you do consultancy work? If people want to start businesses, is that something that you can advise them on how to
Yes.
navigate the terrain here?
Yes, you can email me at info@phytopedia.co, info at Trust Tech Digital, and those of you give them the links, or even info at bevon.co, bevon.co. To reach out to me directly, I can offer help.
Nice. Fantastic. Well, Bevon, it's a pleasure talking to you. I know this interview has been a very long time coming, but as has progress on legislation. So finally the two have aligned. It's exciting times for Grenada. I really hope that things are done in a way that it prioritizes needs here and prioritizes local people first. But I know that you are there fighting the good fight and yeah, making sure that we do what we can. So yeah, I appreciate you and I hope to connect with you as well.
Yeah, thank you very much. And those of you watching, make sure you go and support Zoe and get help from her. Thank you very much.